Hey, hello everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening here in the spectacular Faroe Islands, Denmark. Per and I bless you infinitely. Do you want to say something to the group, Per?
Hello everyone. We are staying at Hotel Føroyar. It's a fabulous hotel that is about 15 minutes to the city center, and yet there's a wonderful feeling of wilderness. Our room has an amazing view over the city, and the staff are very friendly and welcoming. We are so happy that you can join us this wonderful evening, wherever you are. Back to you, beloved.
We're here to work on our homecoming. This is a very sacred project of the seed system for you because the genetics produce an internal seed in the heart space of you. And as you enter it, you begin to go home or learn to live from the inside out rather than the outside in. What we want to talk to you about is that the oligarchy society lives outside in and blended with one another. Many of you also blend to a certain degree with the people that you work with or live with or marry or children that you raise or parents or grandparents or schoolmates or friends you feel really close to. It's because the whole society is outside in, and that this is really true. And outside in creates confusion in you as a seed as to who am I and what am I really here for and what do I really want to dream in this lifeline of mine. When you're in other people, you feel their lifeline. You also feel their emotional discord. You feel their patterns that are difficult for them in societal context of programming. If you're in them long enough, you may become confused as to where you're supposed to be or what it is you were supposed to do in your life from a star seed organization of dreaming you. That's what we really want to talk to you today about because it's time to potentially let go of the outside in systems that keep you from going home within you. Going home within you is a very sacred action. In other galaxies, people are home in themselves from childhood through the end of their lives, and they listened to the Dao and Tao of their own anthology. They listened to the ancestors related to the biology. They know who they are from a standpoint of what they're gifted at, because their ancestors were gifted at that too. They do what they do, and it generally succeeds or works because it's a life lived from the inside out rather than the outside in. This oligarchy society has blended genetics, blended holographic archives, blended archives of ancestries, and nobody really knows which ancestor is related specifically to their own biology. Many of you in inside-out shatter systems of ascension looked at past lives and looked at things that seemed to be true because it matched the emotional charge of you. You forgave what you saw and forgave what you felt and forgave your fragmentation of your inner child. And then you grew a little more whole because you forgave it. But you weren't looking really at the sincere ancestors related to your DNA because the sincere ancestors aren't in a system of archiving on the planet, because the seeds really aren't a part of the anthologies of the masses. And so the only way you can really come into the truth of the ancestors of you is to go inward into the seed that your biology generates in your heart space and allow that to motion forward, to allow you to open up to the truth of your own holographic wisdom and the ancestors who were related. The Daos and Taos that have danced with them through time will also emerge with you to understand who you are living in this odd place called Earth, so that they too can begin to annotate what it is you've accomplished or experienced or lived here in this place that maybe they weren't expecting any of us to be born. Therefore, this is a very sacred action of opening up to something that's very deep and intrinsically true to everybody that's ever been incarnate. But somehow, some genetics seem to lose that capability, and the anthologies of most on this planet, if not all, except for perhaps seedlings. We don't know much about them, but they might retain the recollection of the internal space to open up unto, and we're not sure entirely about it because we only see that were descended and maybe in the last century that incarnate you. And each of you are very different, maybe from seedlings or those that have reincarnated into the society through time. Those that incarnate into the society tend to give this holographic wisdom to society and don't retain it within the seed of themselves, and that's what we are trying to upset also, is that the information that is yours, and you need to take it home with you and not leave it here for this planet. That's going into its extinction cycles. That's very painful for the seed to leave a part of you with great wisdom somewhere else that isn't really its home or destination in the first place. And so we bless you for this journey together, because the trigger point going into your foundry of assemblage points is to trigger you to remember to go home. Every time you meditate, you trigger the trigger point of homecoming to go internal rather than external in relation to what you see or what you look at or what's true for you through time. Now, if you want to, please close your eyes and sink your consciousness into your heart and into your seed and allow yourself to allow that seed to open and fill your home space. So let it fill the room because really you are this, and home is an inside projection to the exterior of where you exist, and suddenly your boundaries grow outward to surround you that are related to your star seed and not some other gear or pattern or program or something else that you chose to embody in order to motion light. It's time to begin to dismantle the patterns that are from the oligarchy society and choose to bring in or anchor the patterns that are true to your anthology from inside your own DNA and inside your own C system. The first thing that will transpire in your own homecoming is you become more true to you from the inside of you rather than from the exterior of everybody else. Many of you feel the difficulties of your family or children or parents or spouse or partner, and you feel the troubles at the office, and you feel the troubles of the other people that you know. As you expand your own space, you can think of it as a giant egg that you sit in not just as you meditate, but the goal becomes to learn to live from within your own seed system, projected from the inside out rather than the societal programming of the rest of humanity and everybody that broadcasts it. Right now, there's a really odd broadcast going on in the human infrastructure. They're broadcasting light emotion, but they're also broadcasting non-peace. So they're agitated, and they're anxious, and they're worried, and they're not comfortable in their own dream stream. And you may pick up on that inadvertently in being inside out, and that can be very uncomfortable as you transfuse. You may find you're better off alone, or retreating in the woods, or taking a swim in the lake, or the pond, or the pool, and coming back into you and separating from everybody else. The problem is disease, because they can push so far into you that they actually start to enter your molecular motion and then slow it down or distort it in certain parts of the body that may begin to ache or hurt, and that's not good for you either. So the first goal of this seed system that we're opening up in your home all the way around you is to begin to push out the systems of others that are not you. As they begin to diffuse, you may feel less weight upon the body or upon a particular part of the body that may tend to sometimes convulse into an ache. For some people, it may be the abdomen or the sacral area. For some, it's the heart. For some, it's the belly button area. For some, it may be even the back of the neck or the head. Could be the feet or the hands or the joints. All of these problems could lead to diseases of different kinds if you didn't choose to go right side out and go home in this time period of emerging light. Allow the seed that emerges around you and fills your room and your home to begin to let go of what isn't you within you, and then begin to diffuse the societal programming related. In the last Psychic Reality webinar, Psychic Self, we talked about how this society has all this program and you each are beginning to transfuse into it. Much of it is negative. Some of it is positive, but much of it is negative. And that's not the truth of you from inside the home of you. You're not a negative program, see? The C system is a very positive flavor. Let's go out and express in merriment. Let's create in joy. Let's live this life in a way that is mesmerizingly gracious, or union-oriented, and swing and sway together in heart space, communing with our Dao and Tao within. And then communing with each Dao and Tao in society. By and large, this society is Taoless and Taoless. So there's nothing to commune with even as you go home. But you can commune with a Tao and Tao of you and feel raptured in you. You can commune with the ancestors that show up to help you live this life in whatever directions you are trying to foster in a change of assemblage points within you. We like you to sit with this for a moment and allow a vision of a scene of what your home is like within you, in the presence of the home you live within. It may be an outdoor scene. It may be an indoor scene. It may be something else you wouldn't imagine. There may be nature, kingdoms, or ancestors, or other things that are present you weren't expecting. And whatever it is, it will be true to your anthology. When Asur'Ana first entered this space, the native Tibetan ancestors showed up with tents made of yak hair, and they adorned her with kind of chuba, clothing made of inner layers of sheep fur and jewelry that was true to the nature of wherever they lived. She felt really loved and blessed that they were there for her and for you too, because she drew upon their knowledge and a lot of her channelings and translations in the early time period of the Dreamtime Ascension School or DAS, and the Ascension books that were produced in the Ascension Insights series. So let your ancestors come forward and bless you with their adornments and what it is they feel they need to give to you to live this life of yours more fully in the truth of who you are in the home of you. They may have things they want to ingratiate in this scene of yours to make it more comfortable for you and they to be present in your life. There may be one or two who step forward and say, "Well, we're really willing to live this life of yours. You have the creative skills we also knew in whatever your occupation is, and we want to motion forward with you to help you live this dream from inside out in everything that you choose to do from this point forward, because we're at home with you and you're at home with us. And this is part of your internal home projected out into the world to manifest the dreams that are true to you and not someone else or something else." If you've had ancestors that have worked with you and are still here that are not from inside your seed, then it's time to let them go and let them grow in another direction that may be better for you and they. It's also very important to let go of everything that you're thinking about ancestors, because the ancestors you may have called upon in Shatar dreaming or in earlier times of your visionary occupation of you as an ascending human. They may not be true to what's really true to you from inside your own star seed generated by your own DNA. So let go of all those ancestral positions and even their archives, because they're not really true to who you are sincerely, as they were generated out of the oligarchy society, and perhaps from indigenous cultures that were very, very beautiful, but they're not really you either, whoever they have been or came from through time, space, and form. Open your own ancestral books, because in the library of you are ancestral books about the ancestors that lived lives related to your DNA. They have gifts and talents, and maybe karma they acquired or problems they encountered. The problems may be related to what it is that you have occurring in this life of yours now, and they found a solution to whatever that problem was. Then you can bring forward that solution into the same problem of yours, and suddenly you know what to do and where to go, or what to say or what to do. Or you construct some kind of system around you that allows you a resolution of everything that you are, or everything that you need to be, or everything that you truly are from a standpoint of the star seed of you. That's a beautiful position to go into, because the ancestors of others, whether they're spouses or family or workmates or friends or anybody else you associate with, also need to leave, because sometimes ancestors of the oligarchy society love cease, so they congregate around you in some way, and although that's very kind, they're not really true to perhaps who you are in the you of you. So let them go back to where they belong and allow your own ancestral wisdom to begin to open in the homecoming of you. There'll be one ancestor in particular that will match your genre of gender, meaning there'll be male if you're a man or female if you're a woman. They're going to want to blend with you some for two reasons. First, they want to look at your genetic systems and help them adjust to maybe better DNA within the light wave motion of your anthology. And they may want to balance your spine or balance your mind or balance you in a way that they knew when they were alive in a creation emerging in light. So you brought forth an ancestor who emerged into a light cycle that perhaps was very difficult, and they learned certain motions that help them stay stable, help them anchor, help them live their lives or dream their lives, but also help them retain their health. And so this first ancestor that comes forward in the homecoming of you to blend with you chooses to straighten out or motion forward in a direction that's really beautiful, to bring your light transfusion systems to better balance your cellular structure. They may assess rays or other things that you're familiar with in our own work through these webinars to help you bring in the right rays for the organs, glands, or systems to balance you left and right, top and bottom, in a way that's very gracious. Allow this ancestor to remain with you overnight and return to be with you maybe once a week to see what's next that needs to heal within the cellular infrastructure of you. There's also an ancestor here that desires to help you dream in a direction that's true to you in this life of yours. They are a beautiful ancestor, gifted at creative projects, and they have many things they may wish to bestow on you in relation to what it is you might like to create in this life of yours. They're gifted in holding the position of assemblage points to motion your dream stream to flow in directions that are most gifted in this life of yours. As they blend with you, they're going to adjust your assemblage point some to grow in a direction that's better perhaps for your anthology and for this life of yours. If you're in the midst of a change of direction of some kind and a life reversal where you may want to do something new or move in a new direction or depart a partnership or emerge into another one, they'll be gifted at reversal information and helping you let go of what stands in the way of your objective with your Tao. The Tao within sets up the life reversal because life needs to change to retain your health, and if you don't change or grow with it, then you're sick in the end. No Tao would ever want the body to grow ill when it doesn't need to. And so this ancestor is gifted also at assessing your talent, life map, and where your life needs to go so that it can begin to motion in a direction that's very useful for you on the inside. And then it will manifest on the outside because all dreams can be broadcast outside and draw to you what you need to do, or where you need to go, or who you need to be in each circumstance without engaging with the dreams of others in the society at all. In a way, you're growing much more powerful at asserting what dream you want to cause when you dream it from the inside out, meaning that it's your dream and not anybody else's. It comes from the homecoming of you, and being in your C system and not some other system related to this world that you know. There are kind people out there, but sometimes energetically or in light, they can be very assertive at wanting you to dream as they need you to dream rather than you need to dream as you. In the homecoming, you simply assert, I don't choose for that dream. I dream it this way with you and with each, and it will be the way my ancestors wish. It will be the way my Dao and Tao wish, and not necessarily something else that's unkind or weird to experience because you have something in you that wants to throw me for a loop into something negative or something sick that I don't really choose to live in this life of mine. In this time period, there are so many sick dreams being thrown around that it's very important for each of you as Cs to enter the space of dreaming from inside your homecoming and nowhere else, because you don't know what might show up that you really don't want to live until after it's occurred. In the homecoming of you, you will assert something else in the way you dream that simply says no to the perverted dreams others may be trying to discard in their confusion of how to dream at the speed of light in positive nature of love, care, and honor of each. That's the biggest problem when you go to dream and you're negative. Then you dream ugliness. And then people in their negativity and non-love and non-care of themselves or one another dream their negativity and throw it on top of others because they really don't want to live it. They try to pick the highest point of light enough, and as a seed, you are that. So they pin their negative dream on top of you, and then something odd happens, and you're unhappy with whatever you call to you to experience. So the best thing to do is expand into your seed and put it all the way around you, and pop the dreams back that come from others that are negative or splattered on top of you. Let it go back to each or wherever it came from, and recognize that you have the power to dream from the inside of you and not from somewhere else. Even as you go to work or you go wherever you go in the car, put the seed around you. Expand it from the heart all the way around you as an egg, and sit in that as you live your life. In time, you grow better and better at being at home and in life at the same time. Life will flow in directions that are more mesmerizing and beautiful in this journey that you call the homecoming of you to your starseed self and the ancestors of you, and the Dao and Tao that is sincerely of you and not of the sea or the land or somewhere else. And so as we go forward, we wish you now to bring forward the Tao from within your own starseed system in your heart. There may be more than one Tao because some Taos are gifted at genetics, some at dream streaming, some at partnership, and some of other things that you may come to know, because Tao is as diversified as the interest of you in the genetics or the anthology of you. So allow there to be as many Taos as you need to live this life. For some it may be 3 or 4, and some it may only be 1, because your Tao consolidated all positions somewhere in time in himself to be able to foster all directions of living within the homecoming of each that generated a body in some galaxy near and far away. The Tao of you is beautiful, and he may choose to adjust certain things in this life of yours to allow you to release those patterns that aren't in agreement with your seed origin. Okay, so now we're going to talk about seed origin. The seed origin is a spark or a flame inside the seed of the chest. So let's ignite that now and allow it to flame out. Sometimes it flowers, or sometimes it does a rolling motion of light. It matters not what it looks like. It is just that it sparks and it opens the heart space of you to feel the truth of your Tao from within the seed egg that incarnate in this body of yours long ago. The spark ignites and brings forward something else that's really beautiful for you to experience. For one, you will experience the truth of the flame of you, because truth flame is not a new invention. It is just how you learn to be in the truth and purify yourself in the light of you as a flame of the body. So you can imagine a flame opening up all around the form as you sit within the greater egg of you and allow it to emulsify bright white light that's related to the truth flame of you to purify this body of yours. So allow that to turn on now and see how that feels from the assemblage point notion of the foundry of you. That it's a flame that surrounds you and purifies you from the inside and not the outside from the light of the planet. We know that the light of the planet is very yellow and sometimes very teared and not necessarily the best for your own biology. But this is a very gentle light that comes from within the seed system of your own anthology, and it bathes you in a way that you can discharge perhaps what you haven't been able to within your molecular structure or within your foundry or within your life or life systems, so that you can come into balance within the home of you and not somebody else. It's important to allow those who want to enter the home of you to go back to their own self, whether they're a seed, seedling, or someone else. So let the people that are not you depart in their gates and shut them down forevermore. They're not welcome in the egg of you, and they're not welcome in your home and in your life any longer to penetrate you and make you feel uncomfortable with who you are in this nature of you, in the star seed of you. So let's shut all those gates with your Tao and your seed origin of flame and simply say, I choose to be within me and not within anybody else. And as you let go, you may feel a large shift within yourself that simply says, I am also not the social programming of everyone else. Because people like to shower their troubles on you, but also put you in their own social programming. That's not good for you either, because you have your own programming you're trying to diffuse, and then it gets confusing because on some level it's really not you. Therefore, here's one other thing I'll share with you, that there's a beautiful dream to spin in you, and it needs to go in the right direction. When that dream spins, everything grows into new directions of something beautiful. When the dream spins in the opposite direction, it calls ugliness at you or difficult dream streams that doesn't align as well as you would like. And so turn the dream stream clockwise and not counterclockwise, and rotation it with the seed in that direction, and say, I'll dream positive dreams everywhere I go and with everyone I know, and not negative ones forever in myself. If for some reason your dream turns directions into counterclockwise motions, then remember to turn it around and align it within you that it be beautiful and positive and not negative with each you encounter and each you're here to dance with in this dream stream of you. That's how the sea system calls to itself only dreams of wonder and beauty and grace, and you don't need to eclipse back into negativity, maybe ever again, if you remember to be inside the larger egg casing of you. Spin your dream clockwise so that what you have are amazing encounters with others who share your company and share in your interests and foster something really beautiful with you through time. That's a really gracious way to do it, because you simply spin off the dreams of negativity near you or in others, and they feel better with you too because you spin it off for them, and then they find their way in their own way through their life or their trauma or whatever it is that's going on for them through time. Spinning your dreams clockwise is an anthem all of its own, and there's beautiful music to go along with it that your ancestors can bring forward and inaugurate. Sometimes it's passionate music, or sometimes it's some other kind of music that has a stanza of emotion in it that says, "We're going to swing and sway and have a grand time, and love and play and be beautiful together in the home of me and wherever you are," because normally it would be in the home of me and the home of you. When you're with other starseeds, that may be true, but that's rare in the current society because so many are so forgetful of everything they might have known in another galaxy before they moved to Earth. So we say to you, let yourself swing and sway, and your music and your positive stanza of reality motion your dreams clockwise, and then see what it does for others who are negative. And let it be that they don't have a home, but you do. Don't try to take them home within you even if they're your beloved, because that can shatter what it is you're trying to construct if you bring somebody else into this position. Even if you're twins in partnership, it's important for each of you to have your own egg to sit within. Or if you're with a child that's a seed, then he needs to have his own egg to spin within and not yours. Even if it's a very young child and you need to hold them in some way, they need to be motioning in their own egg and not yours at all. That's just very important for parents of young seeds to recognize is they need their own seed casing because that's where they draw their DNA from. That's how they grow into who they really are in the truth of themselves through time as young people. Young people have an understanding of life. They are not like pets or something unaware. This society treats children as unaware somethings that don't know very much. They're not young people. They're young pets or something weird that they get in their minds about how they treat children. And sometimes they're quite abusive too. It may have been when you were abused heavily at some point, from age 1 to 4, that you fell out of your home because your seed may have generated this kind of dream when you were little, of a seed from the heart to the outside of the little body. You were there at home and you were okay until something came along and hit you or yelled at you, and then suddenly the homecoming of you was lost. So let's go back to that moment of you when you lost your homecoming in the early childhood and let go of that experience. Erase it and transform it in you, that although that happened way back then, you're going to let it go now as a stigmatism of not going home perhaps ever in this entire life, which would be sad for you given the dream changes of humanity in this time period. Humanity is really having a hard time in their dream, and it will come to be more so maybe in 10 years. But for you, you'll be home. It doesn't matter what the rest choose to do. You will find it within yourself to do what you need to do until it's time perhaps to release the physical, maybe due to disease or maybe due to global circumstance of something you really don't want to remain and live through. Whatever it is, the home of you that you return to is the same home you're sitting in within now. And when that time comes, there's new information that shows up to allow you to complete with the global systems of life so you can release the body in tenderness and peace and go home to your seed and not somewhere else. That's what we want to also bless you with today, is a system of homecoming that can take you away, and when it's time to release this life, it becomes a beautiful play of understanding everything you've caused or affected, or the people you've known, and an opportunity to forgive each experience and then go home. It's a lengthy process to complete with the life of up to 4 years. But whatever it is, there's a point in time sometimes where that's necessary. And so we gift you with that process of conscious crossing in the homecoming of you, in the star seed of you from when it's time. It is an inversion to enter your own space, because when you are with others, it's an excerpt of you into them. When you inverse you into you, you come home and separate from them in order to be in your own seashore. So I like you to inverse and inverse and inverse and inverse as many times as you need, to perhaps up to 100 right now, to pull yourself into your own seed casing that sits open around this home of yours. More and more of you will collect within the seed of you to be understood and maybe even released through forgiveness if it's something that's entangled and painful to you. Don't worry about it. Just put what's painful or entangled that's coming home in a box to mulch it into gas so it can be released as a perversion or an extension of somebody else into you and then into perhaps the molecules of you too, and that's difficult. I'm going to have you inverse your molecule flow from either clockwise to counterclockwise. Don't confuse that with the dream motion. That always stays clockwise. So you can let go of the threats of perversion of others to push into you who want maybe to go home with you because they know you're a seed and they're lost in this oligarchy society. The oligarchy society doesn't understand how to go home. They die inside out all the time. They die into system of death that go nowhere. And even the reincarnation system is really sick, and you don't want to get caught up in that ever. So let go of that and know that you're going to go home to you and not participate in that outside reality that shuns you into the body of some child that may not even be related to your genetics anymore. That's a sick play, and it really needs to conclude. But the society itself may not know how to do that even though they like to. They don't know how to because they live inside out and die inside out and then blend with each other as new children or whatever it is. In a way to go that way, and that's what we want to say to you today is you don't want to be inside out ever. You don't want to be inside out as you live. You don't want to be inside out as you die. So be careful about all of it and bring yourself home, inverting yourself into you again and again, gathering all parts of yourself up perhaps over the coming 6 months to be within your own seed, and then deal with what's negative or got damaged by mulching it into gas so it can renew and revive you inside you. When you're inside out, parts of you can break off too. But over time, as you continue to go and invert you into you, you will pick up those pieces that broke off somewhere else or in someone else and call them home and analyze them and say, okay, that was that heartbreak with that guy, or that was the loss of my child, or that was the loss of my partner or family member who died that I loved, or wherever you were injured through time. You need to invert all parts of you from the day you were born until this moment in time back into you to understand. You make peace with the past and let go of others who may be entwined as much as you mulch it into gas. Mulching is a standard C system and something that this society has forgotten about somehow. And so they don't mulch their darkness and they don't reposition themselves to find themselves at all. But a blended stature of reality that doesn't work for many. It works for some and you don't need to be in those blended realities ever again as you choose to. So now I would like you to take all the realities you've been living in and put them outside your seed and send them back to wherever they came from. I would like you to trigger a reality of you that is for you only and no one else. This reality will fill the seed casing that surrounds you in your home, and it's a reality you can take a deep breath and say, "Oh, this is better. I am that I am. I am who I am, and I don't need to be intertwined with anybody else. I am that I am at one with me. I am that I am at one with my ancestors. I am that I am at one with my seed Daos and Taos, however many they may be. And I am at one with my books of knowledge that are true to my anthology. And I am one with my anthology to live my life and go home when it's time, if I have to relinquish the body due to some disturbance that's beyond me to resolve. And I love who I am in the homecoming of me, and I love who I am in the I am that I am, and the inverse of me into me and not elsewhere or in someone else." These are good things to intend and focus on. Come back to the I am that I am and not the I am that you are or anyone else, and see what that does for you through time. It may receive you and recenter you in a way that's quite powerful in this body of yours to feel certain of who you are and the dream you wish to stream in the direction you wish to take in this life of yours. Your gifted seeds, each of you in your own way, are finding your way through all the quagmires of this weird society of people who are inside out and blended and lost and generally don't know very much other than that what they think they know. And whatever they think they know is drawn upon through a system that is blended and not personal to the knowledge bank of them either. So let them go back to their own knowledge banks. They don't need to be in your knowledge banks, in your home, and push them out of your library if they show up there, and let them know that they can find their own library out in society. Generally, the libraries of society are in the mountain ranges, whether they're above the land or under the sea around the world. Disconnect yourself from the libraries of society because you don't really need that knowledge at all. What you really need is your own knowledge books from your anthology. Open up the ones now that you're in need of to understand you and your current life predicament. And don't worry about that exterior knowledge because it's not valid to the archaeology of you at all. Within your own books, you find your direction, you find your compass, you find the path that you really need to walk. You find the journey that's really amazing for you to think about and foster and do in this life of yours. We bless you in this direction because it's the only way maybe you get out of the societal mess that maybe is coming forward in the next decade or two to inverse into you and inverse into you. Listen to your Dao and Tao and ancestors from within until you know what to do through every quagmire or problem that shows up in your life and everything that you need to understand to trigger yourself to motion in the direction that's fulfilling for you. To live your life as grandly as you can, and when it's time, simply go home because you're through. That's what the trigger point of homecoming is really all about. It's all up to you and your ancestors and your Tao and Tao from within the sea casing to show you where to go or where to be in this life of yours, and nothing really outside of you. Now we have a few pictures here today. This one is a beautiful Hawaiian sunrise that Asur'Ana captured of her lanai in 2008, at a time that she knew that her life was changing because she recently met her beloved twin pair. However, they could not begin their destined relationship and were immediately separated. It was due to manipulated karma, but it's also a spiritual testing that they had to undergo before they could be reunited again. And the sunrise and the palm trees that blew in the wind that morning, in the graciousness of all the little birds that were chirping nearby, they say to her, "Go home to you because that's the only place you're going to make peace with this experience ever, because you're not your twin. You are yourself. You must stand apart from him to find your truth and strength within. How are you going to fulfill your future role as a spiritual master if you plan with him too much? Truth is only strong as it stands within itself. Two that intertwine and depend upon one another diminish the truth and love of each. He needs to be let go of so he can motion on and attain self-realization separate from you for his own spiritual testing as well. Twins are notorious for doing everything together and not realizing separate from one another. Asur'Ana eventually relinquished her twin in their enforced separation and carried on in her realization of herself alone. Per also carried on his own realization by himself. After a decade and a long period of fostering the beloved of the beloved within herself, Asur'Ana was eventually reunited with Per to fulfill upon their shared ascension and spiritual missions together. Anyway, that was their message to Asur'Ana on that day. It was personal, but they also have a message for each of you. That is the sunrise of you to go home to be in the you of you rather than someone else. And in the sunrise, you find your way in a new direction, in a new play, and you give birth to something new that maybe you hadn't thought of maybe ever. Wherever it is, there's also a time for a sunset, and often sunrises and sunsets look the same. The sunset is simply a statement that I'm complete with this lifeline of mine, and I can't defeat my disease, and maybe I can't come clean with whatever's happening in my life, and I need to go home. And the sunset are a part of homecoming too. For most of you, you're going to grow into the sunrise system of what do you really want to do to foster this life? Or are you doing what's best for you? And where do you really need to be to go and grow and become yourself that's beautiful as the sunrise over the Bay of Kihei? So anyway, big blessings from Hawaii in the land of beauty and grace and love and ohana and care that many share, because there is an anthropological system of that anchored in the land. Asur'Ana misses it to this day, but honors her time there and what she needed to do separate from what she and Per needs to do in Mesa, Arizona. A place of knowing rather than heart space, so you know more than you could ever in Hawaii. That's why Per and Asur'Ana are not living there in this day of themselves. Okay, we have another picture. This is Yellowstone Lake, a beautiful lake that we love to walk around there with its thermal pools of all different colors that are around the path of this lake. The lake itself is thermal and very warm in some places and has its springs and so on. But the lake felt like a home. We come here year after year after our Big Sky events. Lake of Yellowstone and love the pools and feel the quick sense of time that said, time is upon you when there's going to be a vast change in this world of light that shows up upon this planet. We don't know what direction it will go, if it will renew and revive or go extinct. And if it goes extinct, will you be here to witness a change in light motion and everything else happening that will lead to the death of the planet? And if it revives, you'll be better, but we don't know which way it will go. Asur'Ana knows now in her own octaves of transfusion that the planet is dying and there's no way to stop it. It's still 1,000-year or more process, and to witness it is very sad and feels almost like a heartbreak of her life, because she was so inside out in the planet that it has taken her this last 6 months to start to pull herself back together and not be out there in nature, whether it be the oceans, the lakes, and the pristine parks that she visited or transiting in her travels. Some of you who feel this deep kinship with nature, and maybe you even feel a little vacant or lost, because somehow you're not home in you, because you're out on the planet instead. If so, it's time to withdraw out of your planetary connections and pull yourself into the you of you in the seed of you. And if those parts of you are still beautiful and glamorous, you'll be glad to bring them home. Those parts of you were stuck in muck because of something else that's occurred. It's time to mulch it and purify it into the you of new gases, of whatever it is you've learned in your love of the planetary kingdoms, the birds, the bees, the trees, and the waterways and sea creatures, the land mammals with 4 legs or the birds with 2, and everything you felt in the creator of this planet that the natives felt as they danced with the land. Native position here in Lake Yellowstone of I am that I am, one with the creator of this planet. And that's where the oligarchy society goes. I'm at one with the planet because they don't have a home inside themselves. You need not to be at one with the planet anymore. You need to be at one with you as a star seed, and let go of your need to foster the inside-out motion into the world of the earth and grow into the world of you with your ancestors, with your Dao and Tao, and with your own angels that we're going to trigger to open today. New body level angels, and maybe new angels for the physical if they're needed, and an angel to oversee your dream stream in life too today. That's generated from within the sea system and not from within the planet anymore. Many of the angels of the planet are dying due to systems of light that don't work well with their fabric, and they can't help it. Parts of the Tao of the planet are dying due to light emotion that doesn't work with their fabric either. And so this is true to the Tao of the Earth, and that's very difficult as a seed to suddenly lose the feeling of the Tao and Tao of the planet or the sea. The sea is less subject to death, so if you're near the sea, you may feel better. But if you're inland, you may feel kind of empty for loss of the Tao and Tao of the land or the small waterways and rivers of this planet, and instead withdraw out of that because you can't do anything about it. You like to save the planetary Tao and Tao and everything that the planet is losing, and that's very painful to understand in the physical if you're deeply connected. Asur'Ana has been and it's been a big choice to simply say I have to separate from planetary systems and grow into me to be well for what I'm here to do for the rest of this life. And so that may be true for you if you feel deeply connected to the Tao and Tao of the planet. It's time to separate and grow into the Tao and Tao of your seed from your heart space in the homecoming of you to understand what it means to be born on a dying planet in a cycle of deep grief in many ways, and to know when it's time to go home. If there's something coming about you can't control that will either make you ill or blow you apart, you may want to choose to leave before that occurs. Or if you start to grow ill, then it's time to go home. And that was the message of Lake Yellowstone that day, that you have a seed you need to grow into Asur'Ana Jasminia Vita Maha. You don't know your entire name yet in this time period, But Asur'Ana Jasminia needs to be spawned, and then you take out apart all the planetary systems that are growing ill too, because they're not really you. You are the star seed of you, and you need to go home to you, and then you'll be better. And when the time comes, you exit with us too. We love you always as a lake of our own heart too. As a lake of our own heart too. This photo was taken about 5 or 6 years ago, but they send their blessings to each of you listening to this webinar today because they already knew about these webinars that Asur'Ana and Pair would eventually produce together before we moved to Gold Canyon, Arizona for 6 months out of the year, with the other 6 months residing in Alta, Norway. So we bless you from that moment with the wisdom of the planet. The planet has lots of wisdom, but for you, your wisdom really lies within your own books of knowledge that are spawned from your own anthology and not really anywhere else. Now we'll go back to our prose here, and the prose of our heart is this beautiful saying that the homecoming is a position of trigger point to invert you into your interior reality, to commune with your Tao and love your Dao, to find your ancestors from your anthology, to live your life and retreat home when it is time. So we'll say this to you that the inversion process may be a 6-month case of needing to withdraw from the parts of you left behind in the societal relationships you've known to friends and workmates, family and others, spouses and children, or grandchildren, or whatever you have danced with. And also from nature if you've been particularly nature spawned. Many seeds are so in love with nature because it's the only thing that really loves back wholeheartedly. So you loved nature and it loved you back. You loved nature and it loved you back. You went out into nature and inverted into it to be at peace. Some of nature is dying today, so what inverted you may have died with it, or you may feel the pain now of the planet as it sinks. And you need not really do that at all. You need simply to uninvert and bring yourself back home and recognize that your love of this planet was deep, but it's time to grow into you instead of into it. Same is true with people you have known and loved dearly. If they start to die or grow into ill health or have emotional discord growing into them and inverting into them, you feel their pain and strife. As you invert back into you and into the you and keep inverting it, and mulching what's not you, suddenly you spring up in joy and fulfillment again and not feel the pain of so many others or their anxiety or whatever else is going on in their exterior realities. You will create an interior reality where you can be at peace and know yourself and know what your ancestry, Dao and Tao have to say from the anthology of you. You will trigger dreams that are true to you, and you will trigger a new life to emerge in the sunrise of you. It's very beautiful to foster from the inside out rather than the outside in. That's all the trigger point of homecoming is really about. And we bless you from the star seed system to grow into you and go home into you and let go of the planet and the people of the planet, because they're really not a part of the seed system, nor are they really a part of you at all. And as you go home, you will find more happiness and you will dance a little bit more. Perhaps you will smile a little more and cry a little less if you're sensitive. We love you always. Namaste.